She nearly missed it. Just a patch of brown against the white. But something made her stop. The snowbank near her cabin had shifted. Just slightly. And when she pulled the tiny frozen shape into her arms, its eyes opened. Wide. Watching. Then, the snow moved again. Another nose. Another ear. Another heartbeat. She was no longer alone. And someone had left them there, deliberately. The storm had passed, but the silence it left behind was heavier than the wind had ever been. Kara Blake stepped out onto the porch of her grandfather's old cabin, snow crunching beneath her boots. The air was sharp, biting at her cheeks. The woods that bordered the cabin were silent, the kind of silence that wasn't peaceful, just waiting. She came out here to be alone. To let the world go on without her for a while. The cabin was all that was left after the funeral. A place to breathe. To grieve. To disappear for a little while. She had planned on chopping more firewood, maybe boiling some tea over the wood stove. But something stopped her. Just off the path leading to the generator, something brown broke the endless white. Small. Still. Not quite snow. She walked toward it, heart thudding louder than her footsteps. It was a puppy. Half buried in the snow, its tiny body curled up tight, breathing shallow but present. Kara dropped to her knees, not even feeling the cold. Oh my God. The puppy didn't cry. It didn't move. It just looked up at her, straight into her eyes, like it had been waiting. She scooped it into her arms, brushing snow from its fur. It weighed almost nothing. She wrapped it in her scarf and stood. And that's when it happened. The snow shifted. Just behind where the first puppy had been. A whisper of motion. She knelt again, carefully brushing away the soft, freshly fallen snow. There, another one. This one was lighter in color. Its ear was torn, and it trembled uncontrollably. It didn't open its eyes. She didn't think. She just reacted. Bundled them both in her coat, she turned to head back toward the cabin. But the snow behind her moved again. Kara turned slowly. 3 bumps in the drift, almost invisible from a distance. She rushed back. Her gloves were soaked through now, hands numb, but she didn't care. One by one, she uncovered them. 5 in total. 5 tiny lives. One barely breathing. All curled like they had been laid there carefully, placed, not abandoned. No footprints. No sled tracks. No path leading in or out. Just the storm's aftermath. Inside the cabin, the wood stove was already hot. She tore off her gloves, wrapped the puppies in thick towels, and laid them on heated blankets by the hearth. Her heart pounded as she counted them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They weren't siblings. That much was obvious. Different colors, different ages, different fur textures. Someone had gathered them. But why leave them in a snowbank? Why so close to her cabin? As she unwrapped the first puppy, she noticed something strange. A small brass tag around its neck, attached to a faded blue collar. The others didn't have collars, just this one. The brass was old, scratched, but legible. Engraved in small letters. Find the rest. Her blood ran cold. It wasn't just abandonment. This was deliberate. Intentional. She wasn't supposed to find one. She was meant to find them all. She set the tag down and moved to the next puppy. This one had a strange scar above its right leg, a clean line, surgical almost. Kara had worked at a vet clinic during college. She recognized that kind of cut. Medical. Recent. She wrapped each one in soft towels, placing them in a basket near the stove. Then, carefully, she propped the brass tag on the mantel. watching it gleam. She didn't know what she was caught in yet. But this wasn't just a rescue. This was a message. Outside, the wind picked up again. It howled against the cabin walls. The trees creaked like they were holding secrets. And somewhere, just beyond the edge of her clearing, something watched. A figure in black stepped back into the pines, leaving no tracks. Kara didn't sleep. Even after the puppies stopped shivering, even after the fire roared to life, even after their tiny paws stretched and curled in dreamless sleep, Kara couldn't shut her eyes. That brass tag haunted her. Find the rest. It was both a command and a clue. But who left it? Why those 5? Why her? She paced the cabin in thick socks, stirring the fire, checking the pups every few minutes. They were calm now, not the kind of calm that comes after exhaustion, but something deeper. They were safe. For now. Her mind went back to her grandfather's journals. He was a quiet man. Lived in this cabin full-time after retiring from the forestry service. He used to talk about odd things in the woods, but she'd always chalked it up to old age and loneliness. Still, if someone had left the puppies here, right outside this cabin, maybe it wasn't random. Maybe it had something to do with him. She climbed up to the rafters, where an old crawlspace led to a lofted storage area. Cobwebs greeted her. So did dust, half-rotted boxes, and a broken lantern. She tugged out a crate labeled field logs. Inside, notebooks, dozens of them. Each one catalogued with a date range and a brief title: Migration Patterns, Snowfall Markers, Fox Den near Creek. But one stood out. It didn't have a label. Just a leather cover, a faded strap, and a faint symbol on the front, a circle with a single slash through it. She opened it carefully. No dates. No log entries. Just stories. Drawings. Names. Lists of places, most with coordinates. Some pages torn out. Others soaked with water stains. One entry stopped her. December 8, 1999. Found the 4th near the logging road. Eyes already open. Didn't whimper when I picked him up. That makes 4 in a week. Same mark. Same silence. They're not wild. They're not strays. They're waiting for something. Or someone. Her breath caught. This wasn't just some diary. This was a record. Her grandfather had found them, too. She kept flipping. January 3, 2000. The girl was with them this time. Couldn't have been more than 12. Wouldn't speak. Wore a coat too big for her and a chain with a brass tag. She dropped it before running back into the trees. Engraving said, "They remember." Kara's legs nearly gave out. She sat down on the floorboards of the loft, the journal trembling in her hands. The brass tag she'd found on the first puppy? Find the rest. What if there were more? What if the girl came back? What if she never left? Back downstairs, the puppy stirred. The tan one, the first, was sitting up now, looking directly at her. Its cloudy eyes didn't blink. Kara whispered, "Who are you?" She flipped through the rest of the journal. Near the back, a rough sketch of a nearby landmark, Red Pine Ridge. A series of X's marked along the tree line. One X had been circled. And next to it, burial site? Another page listed years. 1985, 1989, 1993, 1999. Circled twice. Underlined. Someone knew this was going to happen again. Someone knew the cycle. Kara turned the page. Blank. And then, a final torn scrap taped to the inside back cover. Written in faint, shaking handwriting. If you find them again, keep them warm. Keep them together. They remember more than they should. Kara shut the journal and pressed her hands to her face. This wasn't just rescue. This was inheritance. Her grandfather had found them. And now they'd come back. To the same place. To her. The snow outside thickened again. Wind hissed against the windows like a warning. One of the puppies whined. Kara climbed back down and sat next to the fire, laying the journal open on the floor. The puppies, all 5, crawled toward it. They didn't chew it. They didn't sniff it. They simply curled around it. Like they'd seen it before. Kara didn't know what the symbol meant. She didn't know who the girl was. But she knew one thing with certainty. There were more pieces to this puzzle. And she had just stepped into something ancient, intentional, and impossibly alive. From the shadows outside the cabin, 2 eyes blinked. Watching. Waiting. The snow buried their tracks. But not their purpose. The old rotary phone hadn't been used in years. But Kara remembered her grandfather saying it was still connected, old Forest Service line, direct to the ranger station in town. She didn't know what she'd say. Maybe that she found abandoned puppies. Maybe that someone had left them on purpose. Maybe that she thought she wasn't alone out here. She lifted the receiver. A soft click. Then the dull, quiet hum of a connection. She exhaled in relief. At least something still worked. She began to dial the ranger station. But before she finished, she heard a voice. Found her yet? A man's voice. Deep. Quiet. Mechanical, like it was filtered through a bad speaker. No, but we tracked her to the ridge line. Someone helped her. An old man, maybe family. There was a pause. Then another voice answered, one she couldn't quite make out. Then, tell them not to approach yet. Not until all 5 are confirmed. We can't risk another rupture. Kara froze. This wasn't the ranger station. Someone else was already on the line. She slowly set the receiver back down. Carefully. Silently. Her heart pounded in her ears. She walked to the window and stared out across the clearing. Nothing moved. Not the trees. Not the wind. But she felt it. Someone was nearby. Someone who didn't want her calling for help. She checked the puppies. They were calm. As if they didn't sense the danger. Or maybe, they'd known it all along. She picked up the brass tag again. Find the rest. Find them, before they do? She didn't know who they were, but it was clear now, someone else was after these animals. And they weren't looking to rescue them. She opened the journal again and went to the page with coordinates. Red Pine Ridge, the place her grandfather circled. She would go there tomorrow, first light. If there were answers, they'd be there. That night, she locked the doors. Secured the windows. And kept the rifle her grandfather had stored under the bed nearby. At 2:37 a.m., she heard the first knock. Not on the door. On the window. 3 soft taps. She rose from the couch slowly, gun in hand. She crept to the curtain, holding her breath. Pulled it aside just a sliver. Nothing. Just snow and trees. She waited a minute. Then another. She backed away from the window. That's when she heard the crunch. Footsteps, deliberate, circling the cabin. And then a whisper through the wall. You have them, don't you? She spun toward the sound, heart in her throat. No face. No figure. Just that voice, not loud, but right up against the logs of the cabin's wall. She backed toward the puppies. They were awake now. Staring at the same point in the wall. The tan one growled. Low and protective. Kara raised the rifle. The footsteps stopped. The wind picked up again. and the voice didn't return. But she didn't sleep. She stayed by the fire all night, gun in hand. Waiting. In the morning, the snow was clean. Untouched. No footprints. No trails. Like the night before had never happened. But the puppies were different. They were tense. Alert. And on the porch, someone had left a second brass tag. Hung from the old coat hook by a nail. Kara reached for it with gloved hands. It was cold. Fresh. New. Etched in the same style as the first. But this one said, "You're not the first. But you might be the last." Kara closed her eyes, clutching it tightly. The message was clear now. Someone had been through this before. Maybe her grandfather. Maybe others. But this time, something was different. They were watching. They were closing in. And whatever the puppies remembered, they had to remember fast. Kara set out at sunrise, her breath visible in front of her with every step. The journal, the brass tags, and the silence that followed last night's whisper were all packed tightly in her satchel. She hadn't told anyone she was leaving. She had no one to tell. But the dogs followed without question. The snow was deeper here, crunching beneath her boots, the woods more remote than even she expected. Red Pine Ridge had always been a name on a map to her. Her grandfather used to speak of it like a ghost story, not a place you went to, but a place that found you. Now, it was calling her. The 5 puppies moved like they remembered the trail. Ghost-like. Sure-footed. Quiet. Especially the tan one, the one who'd had the brass tag. He would stop, sniff the air, then nudge Kara forward. She didn't know how, but she trusted him. 2 hours in, they found the ridge. It wasn't high, more of a raised swell covered in pines older than memory. In the center stood one tree far larger than the others. Its trunk was split, its bark rough and veined like scars. Kara stopped at the base, feeling a strange pressure in her chest. It was beautiful. And deeply wrong. She circled the tree once. That's when she saw it. A post hammered into the frozen soil at the root line. Wrapped around it with rusted wire, a brass tag. She wiped away the snow. It read, 9 remain. 1 remembers. If she reaches the tree, the circle may close. 9? She looked down at the 5 around her feet. Their eyes locked on her like they understood. She dropped to her knees and brushed at the snow around the base of the tree. The tan puppy joined her, digging with frantic energy. A second pup helped. Then a third. Soon, their paws struck something hard, a wooden plank. Buried deep. Narrow. Long. A box. Kara's stomach turned. She dug faster, heart pounding. After 10 minutes, she found the latch, rusted shut. She pulled her multi-tool from her coat and pried it open. The hinges screamed. Inside was a blanket. And bones. Small bones. Wrapped tightly in fabric that had long since faded. The puppies sat around it in a circle. Silent. Then the tan one let out a whimper. And curled against the box. Kara didn't cry. She just knelt in the snow, wind stinging her face, staring at what remained of a memory no one else seemed to carry. Beneath the blanket was a leather tag. Softer than the others. This one bore no writing, just the same strange symbol as the journal, a circle with a line through it. She tucked it into her coat. And then, as if pulled by instinct, she began to dig further beneath the box. Just soil and roots at first. But then, metal. A tin box, watertight. She pried it open. Inside, photographs. Old. Black and white. Photos of children and dogs. All of them marked with dates, locations, and first names. Eva and Bramble, 1972. Caleb and Violet, 1978. Marla and Finch, 1985. Me and Red, 1999. Her grandfather's writing. These were not just stray dogs. These were pairings, bonds, connections. And Kara finally understood. It wasn't about rescue. It was about memory. Inheritance. These puppies were echoes. Genetic memories passed from dog to dog, or maybe more than just genes. And she was next in line. Not because she chose it. Because someone chose her. A shadow passed overhead. She looked up sharply. Nothing there. Just clouds. But the puppies were alert now. Their ears perked. One of them growled. Then the smallest, a black one with a white spot, barked once and darted toward the ridge's edge. The others followed. Kara stood and gave chase. Beyond the ridge was a trail, one she didn't remember seeing on any map. Worn. Hidden. Made by something walking it for years. Maybe decades. The puppies paused at its edge. Kara looked down the path. And froze. There, in the snow, were human footprints. Bare. Small. Leading deeper into the woods. Kara's breath caught. The footprints were fresh. Leading deeper through the trail, small, human, bare. No animal. No boots. A child's steps in snow that should have stolen all warmth within seconds. Yet they went on, unbroken. Confident. Unhurried. She followed them. Each step brought her further from the known world. The woods grew older here, bark blackened, branches twisting like fingers. The silence deepened. Even the wind seemed to hush. Behind her, the puppies followed, always five, always in perfect formation. And then, suddenly, the footprints stopped. At a clearing. Kara stepped through the trees. And saw her. A girl stood alone beneath a crooked pine. Long black hair, tangled and half-frozen. A gray coat 2 sizes too big. No gloves. No shoes. Barefoot in the snow. And yet, not shivering. Still. Watching. The puppies froze. Then the tan one, the leader, the first Kara had found, took a cautious step forward. Then another. The girl didn't move. Her eyes never left Kara. Kara tried to speak, but her voice caught in her throat. The air felt heavy, like it had been waiting for this moment. And then the girl spoke. You brought them. 3 simple words. Spoken like a memory. Kara swallowed hard. Who are you? The girl tilted her head. You already know. Kara stepped closer, trying to understand. The journal, the photos, my grandfather, he wrote about you. You were with the dogs. They're not dogs, the girl said softly. Not really. Kara blinked. What are they? The girl looked down at the tan puppy, who now sat at her feet. Pieces. Kara took another step. I found them buried. Someone put them there. The girl nodded once. To keep them safe. Until it was time again. Time for what? The girl turned and pointed to the trees. Beyond them, Kara saw a hollow in the ridge wall, an opening, dark and deep. They remember, the girl said. But memory fades. Unless someone carries it forward. Kara's head spun. This isn't about rescue, is it? No. The girl took a slow step forward. You're the first to find all 5. The last ones were separated too long. Lost too much. She looked Kara in the eye. But they found you. That means they still remember. Kara shook her head, trying to ground herself. This doesn't make sense. Dogs don't remember past lives. They don't choose people. The girl didn't argue. They're not remembering just for themselves. She knelt beside the tan puppy, who pressed into her hand like a child to its mother. They carry more than memories. They carry us. Kara's knees gave a little. She sat slowly in the snow. Are you one of them? The girl smiled, just barely. I was. The silence grew again. The trees listened. The snow began to fall. Kara reached into her coat and pulled out the leather tag, the one from the burial box. The girl's eyes widened slightly. You kept it. You left it for me. The girl nodded. I couldn't hold them anymore. My time ended. But I waited. I had to wait. For what? For you. Kara felt the wind shift, colder now. She looked toward the path she'd come from. Dark clouds rolled over the ridge. I heard them, she whispered. Voices. On the line. Last night. They're coming. The girl's face darkened. They always do. When the circle closes, they try to break it. She stood and walked to Kara, holding out her hand. You have to hide them. Kara blinked. Where? In there. The girl pointed to the hollow in the ridge. It's where I waited. It's safe. They can't enter that place. Not while the circle holds. Kara looked back at the puppies. All 5 stood now, watching the girl like soldiers awaiting orders. They know, the girl said. They'll follow. But only you can carry the bond forward. Kara hesitated. What if I can't? The girl touched Kara's hand. You already have. Thunder rumbled in the distance. The girl turned, already moving toward the hollow. Kara gathered the puppies. Each one followed her like a shadow. She turned once more to look back. The girl was standing just at the tree line now. Smiling. But fading. Fading like breath on glass. And then she was gone. Kara didn't cry. She just turned and walked into the hollow, into a space where memory had roots, where dogs were more than dogs, and where stories waited to be remembered. The puppies followed. 5 lives. 5 bonds. And the woman who now carried them all. The hollow wasn't man-made. Kara could tell that the moment she stepped inside. It was a natural cave, carved by centuries of wind and water through the stone at the base of Red Pine Ridge. Yet the way it was shaped, the way the chamber opened just enough for 6 bodies, no more, it felt deliberate. The walls shimmered faintly. Not with light, but with memory. She felt it in her skin, her teeth, her spine. The puppies did too. They didn't whine or bark. They walked in with purpose. As if they knew exactly where they were. Kara raised her lantern and stepped deeper in. The puppies followed, moving past her, forming a loose circle around a low pedestal of smooth stone in the center of the chamber. The pedestal was carved. Worn by time, but unmistakable, a spiral surrounded by 5 small indents. Paw prints. One of the puppies, the gray one with the scar above its eye, stepped forward. It placed its paw into one of the carvings. Kara held her breath. A soft hum filled the chamber. Low. Ancient. Not mechanical, not magical. Biological. As if the earth itself had just remembered something. The puppy stepped back. The tan one moved forward next. Then the white. Then the black. One by one, they placed their paws into the indents. Each time, the hum deepened. And with the 5th touch, the room trembled gently. A pulse. Not dangerous, but powerful. Like a heartbeat under the soil. And then the wall behind the pedestal began to glow. Lines etched into the stone shimmered with pale green light. Kara approached slowly, lantern held high. The symbols lit up one by one, not just paw prints, but memories. Children with dogs. Names. Dates. Events. Stories. Kara saw her grandfather's name. His dog, Red. The year 1999. She kept moving down the wall. There was Eva, 1972. Marla, 1985. Then a name she didn't know. Aiden, 2008. Then another. Leora, 2024. Her breath caught. That was this year. And beneath Leora's name. Kara, 2024. Already etched. Already there. As if the ridge knew. As if it had been waiting. Kara stepped back. The puppies had formed a tight circle now, facing her. And then, from the shadows behind the wall, a figure stepped forward. But it wasn't the girl. It was a man. Older. Thin. Wearing a heavy parka with a Forest Service emblem long out of date. She didn't recognize him. But she recognized the rifle on his back. It had belonged to her grandfather. The man held up both hands in peace. "Don't be afraid," he said softly. "I'm not here to harm them." Kara stepped in front of the puppies instinctively. "Who are you?" He lowered his hood. Gray hair. Sharp eyes. "I was one of the watchers," he said. "We were supposed to protect the circle." Kara shook her head. "Then why have people been chasing us?" "Because not all watchers stayed loyal." He sighed. There were factions. Those who believed the bond was sacred, and those who believed it could be exploited. Kara narrowed her eyes. "The voices I heard on the line. They mentioned rupture." "What does that mean?" The man looked down. "When the bond is broken before it's passed, when memory is lost, the circle ruptures. Pain replaces knowledge. And that pain spreads into the next generation." He looked at the puppies. "They've been trying to survive broken memories for decades. You brought them full circle." Kara looked at the wall again. "All this time, it was real." "Yes. It's not just memory, is it?" The man shook his head. "It's legacy. When child and dog connect, the bond allows for the retention of things most people forget: truth, grief, loyalty, even names we've never spoken aloud." He looked at her sharply. "But when that bond is severed, when the child dies or is separated, those memories become untethered. And dangerous." Kara glanced at the puppies. One was now pawing gently at the wall, as if tracing the names with memory. "What happens now?" The man stepped aside. "You can leave. Or stay. But if you stay, you accept the burden." "What burden?" "To carry their memories. To remember for them, and with them. To be the next link in a chain that has never broken, not truly." Kara didn't answer at first. She walked to the center of the room and sat down. The puppies gathered around her. She touched the leather tag in her coat pocket. Then looked up. "I already chose," she said. The man smiled. And so did they. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the cave. Not from inside. From outside. Snow falling. Trees breaking. Something was coming. The man looked toward the exit. "They found us." He turned to Kara. "There's one more passage. Hidden through the stone. Only one of you can go." Kara stood. "I'm not leaving them." "You won't." He stepped to the pedestal and pressed his hand into the spiral. A new path revealed itself, a narrow tunnel, glowing faintly. He looked back at her. "But once you enter, there's no going back." Kara turned to the puppies. They were already walking toward the light. And so she followed. The tunnel narrowed. Kara ducked beneath hanging roots and dripping stone, the puppies padding silently beside her. The deeper she went, the warmer it became, not by heat, but something else. Memory. She felt it in the walls. In the air. Like the place itself had breath, and had been holding it for decades. They emerged into a chamber that took her breath away. It was enormous. Far bigger than the cave above, shaped like a cathedral beneath the earth. But no human had ever built this. Nature had carved the bones of it. And memory had filled in the rest. Light flowed from the stone, pale, cold, and beautiful. Crystalline columns rose from floor to ceiling, threaded with pulsing strands of color, blue, green, violet, like veins of emotion. Within each column, suspended like frozen time, were images. A boy and a brown dog playing by a lake. A girl whispering into a puppy's ear as it slept. A family vanishing into snow. Kara stepped forward, eyes wide. She passed a memory column that pulsed as she neared. Inside, her grandfather sat on the porch of this very cabin, Red, his dog, at his feet. He was reading. Smiling. The tag on Red's collar glinted in sunlight. Tears welled in Kara's eyes. She reached toward the column. Her hand passed just near the surface, not touching, but feeling. Warmth flooded her chest. And then the column dimmed. The puppies had spread out, each approaching different columns. The tan one sat in front of a memory of the girl from the pines, Leora. She was running through the woods barefoot, laughing, a puppy in each arm. But the image flickered, unstable. The colors dimmed and sparked. Then fizzled. The spiral was breaking. Kara turned toward the center of the chamber. A raised platform stood there, simple, circular, with a large carved spiral across its surface. But this spiral was fractured. Cracked through the middle. Its energy leaking like a wound. As she stepped onto the platform, the puppies followed. Each sat at the 5 outer edges. Kara stood in the middle, uncertain. Then she heard it. A voice, not in the room, not in her ears. Inside her. You are the key. You carry the memories. You hold what was broken. She placed her hand on the spiral. A pulse of warmth surged through her fingers. The broken edges of the spiral began to shimmer, but only faintly. It wasn't enough. The puppies rose. One by one, they placed a paw on the spiral beside her. As each one made contact, the glow intensified. The chamber walls pulsed. The memory columns brightened. Then a new image bloomed before her, hovering above the spiral. A field. A long table. Children and dogs gathered. People smiling. Dogs barking. A memory that hadn't happened yet. One that was possible. Hope. But then, a shadow passed across the image. The vision fractured. And a rumble filled the chamber. A voice echoed, this one real, reverberating through the stone. They're coming. They found the entrance. The old watcher's voice. Panicked. Then silenced. The spiral flickered. The puppies growled. Kara turned to the exit tunnel. Footsteps. Multiple. Heavy. Armed. She turned back to the spiral. She didn't have much time. She pulled a journal from her coat, the brass tags, the torn photograph of the girl and the dogs. All of it. She laid them into the spiral's center. The stone absorbed them. Light pulsed outward. The chamber shook. Then the tan puppy, her first, looked at her. And she knew. It was time. Not to fight. To remember. She knelt beside the spiral and placed her hand over its center. Then closed her eyes. And opened herself. Flood. That's what it felt like. A flood of lives not her own. Running through the forest at age 5. Losing a brother in a fire. Hiding in snow with a dog named Finch. Being found again, and again, and again. All of it, every life, every moment passed through the bond, now rushing into her. It didn't hurt. It lifted her. Kara began to speak, not with her voice, but with her soul. She remembered out loud. She named the ones before her. Eva. Aiden. Marla. Leora. She whispered them into the spiral. She told their stories. And the chamber answered. The spiral stitched. Its crack closed. Whole again. And with it, the bond. The footsteps at the edge of the tunnel froze. Whoever they were, they hesitated. Because something had changed. The circle was complete again. Kara stood. Light poured from the columns now. Not images of pain or separation, but unity. Children hugging dogs. Families finding one another. People healed by simple presence. The chamber was full. And whole. She turned to the tunnel. They can't take them, she whispered. They don't belong to the world. The puppies stood with her. A wall of fur and memory. And together, they waited. Not to run. To be seen. They came quietly. No shouting. No barked orders. Just boots scraping against stone, one step at a time. 2 men. Clad in dark cold weather gear, visors covering their eyes, strange rifles slung over their backs. They entered the chamber like trespassers in a cathedral. The lead man paused just past the threshold. His head turned left, then right, scanning the crystalline columns, each pulsing with color and memory. His hand hovered near his holster, but it didn't rise. The other man stepped forward more boldly. His visor lifted. He looked maybe 50. Weathered skin. Sharp eyes that flicked from Kara to the spiral to the puppies. They stared right back at him. "What is this?" he murmured. His voice echoed unnaturally. Kara didn't move. She stood in the center of the spiral, now glowing steadily, and said calmly, "It's not for you." The man blinked. "We've been following this for years," he said. The genetic memory theory. The Vesper cycle. Everyone thought it was a myth. Then leave it that way, Kara said. Myth is safer than misuse. The man stepped forward again, slower this time. His partner held position, tense, but unsure. Kara noticed it. They weren't soldiers. Not really. They were researchers. Curious. Afraid. "You don't understand what you found," the man said. Kara stepped down from the spiral. "I understand enough. I know this isn't about science anymore. It never was." She pointed at the memory columns. "They aren't experiments. They're people. Stories. Families. Lives. And they were meant to be remembered." The man hesitated. His voice softened. "Do you know what happens when this is lost? When the cycle is interrupted?" Kara nodded. "Yes. The memory ruptures. Pain replaces bond. I felt it." He frowned. "We didn't create that." "No," she said. "You broke it. Over and over. With every child you separated. Every dog you caged. You turned something sacred into something measurable." She pointed at the spiral. "But this place, it healed it." The older man's jaw clenched. He looked at the puppies now, really looked. Each one met his gaze. Still. Silent. Not afraid. As if judging him. Weighing him. He took off his helmet. His eyes were tired. "You're not the first to tell me that." Kara tilted her head. "Then why did you keep coming?" He looked at the stone. At first, to learn. Then, to cover what we'd already done. He ran a hand over his face. Too many pieces. Too many lies. We stopped asking why. Just kept asking how. His partner finally spoke. We have orders. The older man sighed. I know. They both stood silently now, facing Kara. Snow swirled faintly from the tunnel behind them. The world outside was cold. Hostile. But this chamber, this circle, was warm. Alive. Kara looked at the 5 puppies. They're not just animals. They're witnesses. They carry what we forget. She stepped forward, voice clear. They carry who we forget. The man nodded slowly. And you're their new anchor? Kara hesitated. Then said, I am now. A long silence stretched. Finally, the older man reached into his coat. Kara tensed. But he only pulled out something small. A 6th brass tag. He walked to the spiral's edge and knelt. Set it down gently. I was given this a long time ago. Told never to use it unless the cycle restarted. He looked up at her. I think it has. Kara picked it up. Etched in the same hand as the others. If they find their way back, let them remember you. Her hands shook. Tears welled, unspoken. The puppies pressed against her legs gently. The spiral glowed brighter. The younger man stepped back, uncertain. Sir? The older man raised a hand. Stand down. He turned to Kara. What happens next? Kara inhaled. You forget the road that led here. He met her eyes. And for the first time, nodded like a man who wanted to. He turned. Walked toward the tunnel. His partner hesitated, then followed. No questions. No fight. Just silence. And departure. As they vanished, Kara felt the chamber exhale. Like it had waited years for this moment. For surrender. For healing. She stood in the spiral, holding the 6th tag. And the puppies gathered around her. The light from the walls dimmed, not gone, but calm. Like the chamber could rest now. For the first time in days, Kara sat down. Closed her eyes. And listened. No whispers. No threats. Only memory. Alive. And safe. The walk back to the cabin was long. But different. Kara didn't feel cold anymore. Not in the way that clings to your skin. The snow was softer underfoot. The trees no longer watched, they stood. She carried something now, not just knowledge. She carried a weight that didn't press her down. It lifted her. The puppies were quiet too. Not tired. Not tense. Just still. As though something ancient had settled inside them. A bond fulfilled. A memory preserved. When she reached the porch, she hesitated. The door creaked as it always did. The fire had burned low. But everything inside was untouched. No footprints. No broken glass. No signs of pursuit. Just silence. And safety. She fed the puppies, real food this time, not ration scraps. They ate slowly, deliberately. Then curled near the fire as though they'd lived there all their lives. Kara sat beside them, knees tucked to her chest. She pulled out the 6 brass tags. Laid them in a line across the coffee table. Each one warm from her pocket. Each one etched with weight beyond the words. She opened the journal again, the one her grandfather had left. This time, the pages she couldn't read before shimmered with clarity. Words once faded were clear. Not rewritten. Remembered. Memory is not owned. It's borrowed. From those who came before. From those who come after. She turned another page. When the fifth arrives, the anchor will know. When the sixth appears, the story begins again. She stared at the sixth tag. The one handed to her by the man who could have ended it all. Instead, he gave it back. The puppies stirred. Then one by one, they moved toward her. The tan one, always first, placed his paw on her leg. The others followed suit, forming a semicircle. Kara didn't speak. She didn't have to. They closed their eyes. And that's when the first memory came. It wasn't hers. She was young, 5 maybe, standing in a kitchen flooded with sunlight. A dog barked at the back door. Laughter echoed. Then the door slammed. A father's voice. A crash. Tears. The puppy nuzzled close. She whispered, "It's okay. You remember for me." Kara gasped, blinking. The vision faded. The puppies didn't move. Another memory rose. This time in a forest. Running. Holding something close, a puppy, shaking, wrapped in a coat. A voice in the distance, yelling. Searching. Then silence again. And warmth. Tears streamed down Kara's face. She clutched the journal to her chest. These weren't hallucinations. They weren't imagination. They were remembrances. Passed down. Held tight. Delivered not by stories, but by touch. By presence. The tan one looked up. And for a brief moment, just a flicker, Kara saw a face behind the eyes. A child. A girl. One she'd never met. And yet knew. Outside, snow began falling again. But softer this time. Not threatening. Just settling. Covering tracks. Preserving peace. Kara rose slowly and opened the cabin's back door. Stepped out into the snow. The puppies followed. Together, they walked out to the tree line. To the spot where she had found the first. The snow there was level again. No dips. No buried life. But Kara knew. It had been a beginning. She knelt and whispered into the wind. "I remember you." A whisper echoed back, not from the trees. From within. "I know." That night, she made space. On the wall, beside her grandfather's old photographs, she pinned the photo of Red. She added a string across the mantel and hung each tag. All 6. Beneath them, she laid the journal. Open to a blank page. She picked up a pen. January 16th. The circle is whole. The bond is alive. The memory is not mine. But it lives in me now. And I will keep it. She didn't sign it. She didn't need to. It was never about her. But because of her, the memory would go on. The puppy snored softly behind her. The fire crackled. Outside, snowflakes fell on a world that had, quietly, shifted. Puppy steps off the porch and runs toward her. Kara watches, eyes wide, memories rising. The moment is emotional, mysterious, and full of quiet revelation and closure. The light came before the sun. Pale blue spilling across the horizon, slowly gilding the trees in frost-tipped silver. Kara hadn't slept. She'd written 3 more pages in the journal, all of them without thinking, almost as if transcribing something whispered directly into her hands. The puppies had curled beside the fire, then near the door, then again on the rug, always near her. As if her stillness anchored them. Now, with her mug steaming and boots left inside, Kara stood on the porch in silence. And listened. It wasn't until the 5th breath that she heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. Crunching across the snow from beyond the tree line. She tensed. not out of fear, but readiness. The puppies stood immediately. They looked to her. Then out into the woods. Not a growl. Not a bark. Just calm alertness. And then the figure appeared. A woman. Mid-50s perhaps. Thick coat, scarf, hiking boots. She walked slowly, eyes never leaving Kara's. When she stepped into full view of the clearing, Kara's breath caught in her throat. She didn't recognize the woman's face. But her presence struck something ancient inside. The tan puppy stepped down from the porch. Walked toward the woman. She knelt, opening her arms. He ran directly into them. She hugged him tightly, whispering something Kara couldn't hear. Kara stepped off the porch. The snow burned her feet, but she didn't care. "Who are you?" she asked softly. The woman stood, still holding the tan puppy. She looked at Kara with gentle, weathered eyes. "My name is Sarah. I'm the daughter of Leora." The name rang like a bell in Kara's head. The girl from the pines. The barefoot child. The first vision. "She left me when I was very young," Sarah said, approaching slowly. "Not because she wanted to. Because they made her." Kara's eyes filled. "You remember her?" Sarah nodded. "She spoke in dreams. In feelings. In smells. She was never really gone." The other puppies came down now, tails wagging softly. Sarah knelt, letting them come to her. "They've been carrying us for so long," she said. "I thought I was going crazy. I'd see flashes. Hear her voice. Then, a week ago, I felt them wake up. I knew she had returned." She looked up at Kara. "And then I found you." Kara whispered, "How?" Sarah pulled a folded slip of paper from her coat pocket. Kara opened it. "The last of the circle is ready. If you remember her, follow the light beneath the ridge. She will meet you before sunrise. No signature. Just the old spiral symbol at the bottom." Kara stared at it. "I didn't send this." "I know," Sarah said. "But she did." They stood in silence, two women bound by memory, neither fully understanding how, only that they did. Inside, the puppies found their places again. Except the tan one. He stayed at Sarah's feet. And then Kara understood. He remembered her. Not just Leora's daughter. Not just the bond. But his person. He'd been waiting for her return. And now he'd found her. Kara smiled, eyes shining. "I guess he was never really mine." Sarah looked at her gently. "He was. For the time you needed him. Now he comes home." They stepped into the cabin. Together. Kara poured tea. Sarah placed the tan puppy on her lap and began humming, a tune Kara knew without knowing why. Something from a dream. Something from before. Later, Kara unhooked one of the 6 brass tags. Handed it to Sarah. "Keep this," she said. "He remembered you. Now you remember him." They sat by the fire as the sun finally broke over the horizon. And for the first time in a long time, everything felt complete. That afternoon, Sarah said she would return. She needed to prepare a place for them, for the circle to live on. Not hidden, but safe. Kara agreed. She would stay at the cabin. Write the stories. Keep the spiral whole. Before Sarah left, Kara asked, "Why now? Why did it all begin again?" Sarah smiled. "It never stopped. The world just got too loud to hear it." She waved goodbye. The tan puppy sat beside her in the truck's passenger seat, tail thumping once against the seat. The others watched from the porch. And Kara did too. When the engine disappeared into the trees, Kara turned and looked at the remaining 4. Each one met her gaze with purpose. She smiled. "Okay then," she whispered. "We have more to remember." Inside, she opened the journal, took a pen, and began the next page. To the next who finds them. If the snow shifts, look again. If you hear a whisper, follow it. And if you feel something that doesn't belong to you, it does now. Take care of it. It's the only thing that will last. She paused. Then added, "I picked up the first one." Then the snow shifted. And I saw another. And another. Until finally, I saw myself.